Hello, I'm Ashley, the engineer at Andover Norton, and welcome to the new year. Now that Santa's been and delivered all the presents, we're now back on the trail of the videos again. Now this is something that some of you may know. In the past I've said the Mark III Commando was the worst built Commando that ever came out of Norton back in the 70s. Back in the 90s, the only reason I got a Mark III is because they were considered the outcast compared to all the other models, and they were relatively cheap. I'd like to say that the Mark III these days in the UK, because we have a tiered license system, now means that when people move off their A2 restricted licenses, they can go up and ride a classic. If they're after a classic, they want something with a left-hand gear change. The Mark III now is getting quite sought after. But let's go back to 1975, when all the engineers and directors and managers, they were all in the pub, or all on the golf course, worrying about their bonuses and not so much worried about what the Mark III was going to look like when it left the factory. A piece to quantify that statement is the seat hinge. This is my Mark III seat. It's been used. It has a steel hinge on it that they must have fitted later as an aftermarket idea. The original was made of nylon. Who thought making a seat hinge out of a piece of nylon was a good idea? It wasn't a good idea then. It was expensive to make then compared to a steel hinge. Why they went down that route, I'd never know. Maybe somebody got the phone call on the golf course and didn't hear what was being said and just said, yeah, that'd be a great idea. I don't know, a nylon hinge, whatever next. Now, we occasionally get a query about how do I change my Mark III seat so I can convert it to a pre-Mark III style. There's two ways you can do this. One's relatively cheap. If you've got a Mark III seat with a hinge, you can just remove the hinge and fit this bracket that we have here. We'll get close-up photos so you can see what they're like in a minute. The other option is to actually buy a pre-Mark III seat and change the suspension top mount position, remove the hinge, put the spacers in, buy another dishwasher, jobs are good in. Some people prefer the seat that lifts off and some don't mind the hinge seats. I actually prefer the earlier seat without the hinge. I've been using a seat recently that's been sent to us as a sample for testing, and it's actually very comfy with different foam, well finished base, and it's actually a slot-in type, which I had to convert to fit onto the bike to test. I think I might stay with that idea. I know some of you like the original idea. By all means, then stick with the hinge. Now, that sort of concludes the video for this week. Now, if you've got any queries or any other questions, please feel free to get in touch with us at Andover Norton. You can always email us or ring us during the working hours. Thank you very much.
Oh.